So imagine this. It's a cold, late afternoon in November. No one anticipated or was even prepared for this sudden snowstorm, daring to happen even before winter had officially begun. But sure enough, the snow is falling, the roads are becoming icy and slick, and visibility is obscured. Taken by surprise, those who can wind their way home the best they can and as fast as possible. Perhaps you are the person who got a head start on the road. You clear off your windshield and it's still fogging up. You're being as careful and as attentive as you can be as you drive on the highway to your way home. You may be thinking of that warm cup of hot chocolate that awaits you at home, along with some freshly baked cookies, if anyone cared to leave some for you. You will allow yourself to have that hot chocolate and the cookies, or the crumbs of cookies, if that's all that remains, as a well-earned reward for making it home safely. On this day of a freak storm, why not bend the rules just a little and eat dessert first? Now, while driving home, as you are imagining the warmth of home, the hot chocolate, at least those crumbs of cookies, you hear yourself suddenly saying, wait, what was that? Oh my God, there's a camel on the road. There's a camel on the road. You're sure you saw it. And there, indeed, on the other side of the road, there in real life, taller than all the cars, a camel is making its way alongside of the road, alongside of the cars, in the midst of a snowstorm. You wipe whatever fog still remains on your side window, and you stare in misbelief, trying to keep your eye on the road in front of you and also to stare back just a little on the other side of the road at the same time. You continue to do a series of double takes as you say to yourself and to anyone who might be able to hear you through your car, your enclosed car, what in the world is a camel doing on the side of the road? But there's no time to stare any longer. Cars behind you begin to beep their horns, and you have to move along. Why haven't all the other cars stopped to look at this camel on the road? Maybe some people in some cars can't believe their eyes. And so they don't believe it, and they move on. After all, it is a little odd, right? And maybe there are others driving down that road that don't even notice the camel. They don't pause. They don't do a double take or look back. They are fixated on what is in front of them. It's snowing, and they've got to get home. Now, how many of you, see a show of hands, think that this story about a camel in a snowstorm walking alongside of the road might actually be true? Look around. Okay. So, if you think it was true, what do you think actually happened? How is it that a camel in November 2018 was walking alongside the road in a snowstorm? Maybe talk to someone right next to you and give them your best opinion on how that happened. Just take a moment to do that. Okay. Now, Bryn, I can tell that you really want to say what you think happened, right? Have you heard this story before? Or are you guessing? Well, let's hear your opinion. I wish we could hear everybody's, but I'm going to amplify yours. You tell me, and I'll say it to everybody.
I personally think he got out of the petting zoo.
He got out of a petting zoo. Let's see some show of hands. How many people think that that's what happened? So even so, how in the world did that happen? A camel on the side of a road during a snowstorm. Well, the story is true. And let me tell you what happened. Indeed, in mid-November 2018 in eastern Pennsylvania, on 309 in the Lehigh Valley, during the beginning of an evening, snowy and icy commute, a camel was spotted alongside of the road. And a few people took photos and were amused. Some panicked and called 911. Others drove by in disbelief, and others didn't even notice. Soon some photos appeared on Twitter. That's what it was called back then, Twitter. People were in suspense. What had happened? And after a while, another tweet came out, and it was from the Jewish Federation of Philadelphia with a picture of the camel and with this message: "This is our camel. His name is Einstein. And he's on his way to our main event at the Kimmel Center in Philly tonight. We have treats and a blanket waiting for him." Now, you see, many people got stuck and stranded in this unexpected snowstorm in what month? November, including the truck with the trailer carrying the camel, Einstein, to his main event in downtown Philly. Now, when the trailer carrying the camel could not make it up the hill because of the icy roads, the drivers took the camel out of the trailer and they decided to walk the camel alongside of the truck so that they could continue to get to their destination and drive forward. A later tweet informed people that sadly, Einstein could not make it in time to attend his event at the Kimmel Center. So they took him back to his home at the Peaceable Kingdom Petting Zoo. And that actually happened. Now, I'm imagining that maybe Einstein the camel was relieved. Now, this is just my imagination. He didn't like being dragged to these fundraising events anyway, where people stared at him while drinking drinks and eating food that he could not have. Maybe he had had some hot chocolate and cookies waiting for him back at the petting zoo. I don't know. What do camels eat? Do you know what camels eat? Dried grass. What else? It's beginning to sound really appetizing. What else? Cacti? Cactus. Okay. Sounds really tasty. Okay. I imagine, and this is just my imagination, that he looked over to his neighbor in the Peaceable Kingdom Zoo, the 1-ton moody rhinoceros with his ferocious-looking horn, and he decided, I better not say anything to him. I'm sure that before the facts came out about why Einstein was walking on 309 in Lehigh Valley in a cold, unanticipated November snowstorm, that people made up all kinds of stories about what they saw or thought that they saw. Some got all the facts right. Some added some facts. Some focused on the traffic. Some focused on the freak snowstorm. Some focused on Einstein the camel. Stories are meant to be told and retold. Each time we tell a story, we might add something new or emphasize something different about that story in the new retelling. The stories we tell this time of year about the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem are like that. These stories grow in us over time, and we grow alongside of these stories. In fact, some of the Gospels, let's call them books, about Jesus say nothing about his birth. They left that out. And the stories that do talk about the birth in two of the books about Jesus, Matthew and Luke, tell different aspects of the story. Now, both agree on this, that Jesus was born in Bethlehem in the reign of King Herod, but then the stories begin to get all mixed up and diverge. Over the centuries, we've added so much to the stories as we've passed them on. We have made paintings depicting this scene in so many different ways. We've created songs like the Christmas carols that we are singing tonight that tell this story. We recreate the scene with a creche or a nativity scene like this one. We've added characters, like that character, the little drummer boy. You heard that song? Yeah. Which we all realize is the last thing a mother who has just given birth to a baby, or a baby that's trying to sleep, really wants to hear. In some congregations, people of all ages dress up in bathrobes to be shepherds, and they put on angel wings and halos, and they carry shepherd staffs, or they wear cow and sheep costumes. Some even include the youngest baby in the congregation playing the part of the newborn baby Jesus as they reenact their version of the story of Jesus' birth. Now, no one tells the exact same story, since each focuses on what is important to them. For some, it is the shepherds in the field who imagined angels telling them to leave their flocks and go to this stable in Bethlehem, for something really important was happening, and they needed to be there to see it. Some focused on the star that seemed to shine so brightly in the sky. And it actually led some astrologers, those who study the stars, to follow that star to the place of birth, to give gifts to this one who they just knew would become a great teacher. Some focused on the fact that there was no room in any of the hotels. So the mother, the father, the child had to go to a stable where the child would be born, among animals and hay. Now, while focusing on the events of the story is in different ways, we also have different ways of making sense of the story, understanding what the story is trying to tell us. Some believe that since a great teacher was born who preached that all are children of God and that one day the poor and the lowly will be part of a new kingdom of love and justice, that this birth must have really taken place in a humble place. Some believe that this person, Jesus, was sent to us directly from God, and so certainly a bright star should shine in the heavens, and certainly angels would be singing, "Peace on earth, goodwill to all." People always tell the story their own way and focus on the parts of the story that mean something to them. Some will feel the wonder that is conveyed to us in the story and not quibble so much about the facts, about what's true, what fits, and what doesn't. Some will hear the message of liberation implicit in this story and be moved to work for a better world where each child can be considered a child of God. Some will hear sounds of hope and their own deep longings for a world of peace. And as we grow in life, as we arrive at each year's Christmas, the story might land for us in different ways. The Unitarian Universalist minister and religious educator Peg Gooding tells us how her understanding of the story grew as she grew. She writes, "They told me that when Jesus was born, a star appeared in the heavens above the place where the young child lay. When I was very young, I had no trouble believing wondrous things. I believed in the star. It was a wonderful miracle, part of a long ago story foretelling an uncommon life. And then they told me a supernova appeared in the heavens, and this was its dying burst of fire. When I was older and believed in science and reason, I believed the story of the star as it was explained. But I found that I was unwilling to give up the star, a fitting symbol for the birth of one whose uncommon life has been long remembered. The star explained became the star understood. Why not a star? Some bright star shines somewhere in the heavens each time a child is born. Who knows what it may foretell? Who knows what uncommon life may yet again unfold if we give it a chance? So we tell the story again and again. Why not a star? Why not a manger? Why not an angel proclaiming peace on earth and goodwill to all? Why not? If this wondrous event could happen in a humble stable, it could perhaps tell us that something wondrous could also happen here, in our world, in our lives, in our hearts. No matter what is happening in the world on any particular Christmas Eve, even when there seems to be no chance for peace, even when it seems like hope is far away, maybe we need this story more than ever. Listen now as I have Kate read a poem, The Risk of Birth by Madeleine L'Engle.
Of birth. This is no time for a child to be born, with the earth betrayed by war and hate, and a comet slashing the sky to warn that time runs out and the sun burns late. That was no time for a child to be born, in a land in the crushing grip of Rome. Honor and truth were trampled to scorn, yet here did the Savior make his home. When is the time for love to be born? The inn is full on the planet Earth, and by a comet the sky is torn, yet love still takes the risk of birth.
So the poem reminds us that the conditions were not right at the very first Christmas, that they might not be right now, and perhaps the conditions are never going to be exactly right, yet the birth of love happens anyway. Say that after me. The birth of love happens anyway. In the poem, she asks, when is the time for love to be born? And I say, well, now, tonight, tomorrow, forever. And as Karen Waldron encourages us, don't just spread the light, make the light. Be light makers. She admonishes us to proactively take the things that fuel us, our gifts, our passions, and use them to serve the world. We need to hear stories that stop us in our tracks, like the story of the camel who got away, and this Christmas story that make us pause and think and find some more meaning to life. We need stories to not only stop us in our tracks, but in the months ahead, we need stories that allow us to stop others in their tracks as well, so that we can, as John Lewis says, make good trouble. The conditions will never be right for the birth of love, so we must act anyway. As James Baldwin declares, for nothing is fixed forever, and forever and ever it is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them because we are the only witnesses they have. The sea rises. The light fails. Lovers cling to each other, and children cling to us. The moment we cease to hold each other, the sea engulfs us, and the light goes out. So let's be light makers. Look at the person next to you and say, be a light maker. And in case the person didn't hear you, say it one more time. Be a light maker. And so let's sing our hymn, Go Tell It on the Mountain. Rise in body or spirit as we sing together.